Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Sunday. End of the weekend is upon us. 12:43 p.m. California time. The date today, September 22nd, 2024. First day of fall, right? Doesn't really feel like it. It's supposed to be around 96 or so, and even hotter tomorrow in Northern California for this coming week. Goodness. All right, latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.2 Southern California area. Some of the news stations out here, or social media news stations, are reporting that there was a three-pointer out here, which was actually from yesterday. This 3.1 into the Malibu area is from yesterday, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The only earthquake today within this area was a 1.3 about just after midnight or so local time. So no three-pointer out here today. Far as anything aside from yesterday's earthquake, as you can see, 2.5 and above, not a whole lot there on the map. A little bit of activity stirring up off the San Jacinto fault zone, and some more swarming down here near the Ocatello Wells area. That's at the southern end of the Elsinore fault. A little clustering going on here across the Fontana area, nudged up here against the San Andreas fault area, where the interchange of the San Jacinto fault zone takes place here. Well, the fracturing off of it, branching off. Aside from that, Southern California is Southern California out there. Just seeing a little bit of smaller microquake activity. Some movement across Nevada is starting to pick up a little bit. Northern California up here got one earthquake outside of Redding, a 1.7. Now, looking at the Earthquake 3D globe here last night, we've seen a lot of earthquake activity around the Middle American Trench northward here. That did not quite make it into the Southern California area, but who's to say that won't pick up sometime today? So we'll have to keep an eye on that migration that we've been seeing here yesterday. Over in Hawaii, four-pointer coming into the deeper areas around Pahala. Now this four-pointer way down there, about 20 miles deep, associated with the plumbing system down there, the magma plumbing system, that is, way down underneath this area. And it's part of a seismic earthquake swarm that has been going on. They say 2019, but technically since the 60s, they've been studying this earthquake activity that occurs way down below, and its association with the feeding of the volcanoes up here at the surface level. So things may start to stir up here a little bit in terms of further escalation of the volcanoes here across the Big Island. Kilauea volcano, a couple smaller earthquakes here, but relatively deep underneath this area. It's a little odd here, underneath the crater area for quite a few twos. Far as the update here, let me refresh this and take a look at the update, which was put out. This is from yesterday, so nothing new here in terms of any update. The volcano still at an orange and a watch level. Our recent eruption activity is down here across this area, where we've seen a couple different fissures open up. Not a whole lot going on out there today. There's a four-pointer that stirred up there underneath Pahala. A couple smaller earthquakes there on the map. But generally, things are just tapering off here for now with this situation, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Obviously, there's areas of input down below in terms of magma reaccumulation up towards the surface area that we'll have to watch for here in the coming days and weeks. But for now, still sitting at an orange and watch level there. Tilt meter up at the summit. Let's go check this out here real quick. See what we have. A little bit of up and down motion here across the summit, but really no significant change here. This is the graph that shows the inflation. There's our recent magma intrusion from the summit. We lost magma at the summit, went off to the Middle East Rift Zone, where we've seen the most recent little eruption over there. And we're just kind of staying consistently stationary for now. All right, worldwide activity here. Latest earthquake, at least in terms of largest magnitude. This is from yesterday, that 6-pointer. So today, going to be a 5.3 down here across the West Chile Rise. And this area has been seeing quite a bit of earthquake activity out here. these fracture zones tend to add further strain out here against the subduction zone itself. So we could see a little bit of further escalation there across the Peru-Chile Trench in terms of larger scale movement. Is it 5.4? It looks like already this morning there's that West Chile rise earthquake. Looks like a little bit later, 5.0 there around the Santiago, Chile area, as expected, because the general plate motion here pushes the Nazca plate eastward, right up against the south, or underneath the South American plate here, and you get that long subduction zone, the Peru-Chile Trench, and most of the time that is associated with all these fracture zones out here, adding strain and pushing that plate underneath this area. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that region. Areas around the Caribbean, let's see what we got here for today. Dominican Republic here, 4.2 earthquake. Area of concern here, been ramping up a little bit in earthquake activity around the Puerto Rico region here. Can't help but wonder if maybe something's about ready to stir up in this area of the plate. There's that 5.1 from yesterday along the El Salvador area. And again, on the earthquake 3D globe here, if you look, there's been a whole lot of earthquake activity here yesterday, kind of working its way up the plate boundary. Last night during the update, I was pretty certain that we'd see a decent uptick here in Southern California this morning, but that has not taken place yet. But we'll definitely keep an eye on it. One earthquake way up into the Washington area. A little 5-pointer, nothing big for now. Yellowstone National Park, we'll check out one of these seismograph stations here and see if we got anything significant. Really not so much. There's a 6-pointer there from yesterday, not in Yellowstone, but down there in the Chile area that did show up pretty nicely on the seismograph. Couple smaller earthquakes here. This is a Maple Creek area of Yellowstone National Park, but really nothing big going on. If there was a bigger swarm going on or some sign of earthquake activity, I would definitely pull up something to investigate further, but really nothing going on there for now. Texas area, Oklahoma, older activity out in the oil fields. Let's see what else we got. Alaska has been a hot area recently with a swarm of quakes out here across the Aleutian Trench. Today, not so much. Just a couple smaller earthquakes out there. Up into the mainland area around Anchorage and the Denali area. This is all generally microquake activity. If you remove all the remove all the microquakes, that's left with a 3.9 here around the Cook Inlet area. So generally normal activity out there for now. Across the Japan area, 4.3 from yesterday. No further movement there today. And somewhat quiet out here across the Indonesia Islands area. This is almost always jumping. A lot of this here from yesterday in terms of earthquake activity. 3.7 right now. That should kick up a little bit throughout the day today. We'll see what happens there. New Zealand, 3-pointer. Older deep quakes here across the area of the plate boundary up north, but just a couple different areas down here showing some elevated movement. Of course, down here in the Peru-Chile Trench, Middle America Trench there as well. Puerto Rico swarming. And Mediterranean area. We've got a decent earthquake swarm over here. Goodness. Quite a few earthquakes pancaking on top of each other. There's some movement in Iran. But most of this earthquake activity, it looks like there's a swarm here in the North Aegean Trough area, north of there. Let me go over to the EMSC model and see what we got. Yeah, so that swarm is stirring up right about here. North Aegean Sea, right around this area here. Not for sure what is out there. It's got 3.4 notification of earthquake in Alaska, not a big deal. fairly deep earthquakes. They're about 10 kilometers or so. Again, that's a fairly decent swarm out there. Back out here real quick and see exactly where we're at. Looks like it's occurring right around this area, but USGS has these earthquakes a little bit further to the northeast. Don't think it's volcanic activity. It is off of the plate boundary here in terms of historical data. Let's see what we have out here. Well, yeah, this area is a hot spot for earthquake activity, as you can see historically. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. Again, this whole area is a little warped in terms of the dynamics out here, the plate tectonics. A lot goes on out here, and they can see some big earthquakes. Got, volcanoes out here as well. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Nothing big. Just a noticeable earthquake swarm out there for sure on the Earthquake 3D globe. And in general, this whole area looks like it's strained out here from, roughly over to Iran through Turkey, and even up north here. It looks like definitely seen some elevated uptick here today and yesterday. The Iceland area, not seeing too much activity there today. Let's go check it out, though, real quick, see what we got from the Icelandic Met Office here. I've been avoiding any Iceland updates for now because, well, we just got through with an eruption here. It's been over 2 weeks now. This update was put out a few days ago, so 2 weeks have passed since the end of the eruption. Just waiting for the reaccumulation of magma into the area below before we see another one. Probably a few weeks down the road. Let's check out the run times here real quick, see what we have for inflation underneath the area. And I'll check out Grindavik down here. This is a vertical displacement. There's our most recent eruption back in August. Lost a lot of volume, of course. It was somewhat of a long duration event. And then we're just repeating the same process here. It gets to a point of maximum accumulation. The eruption happens there for a couple weeks. Then it halts for a number of weeks, and then we start accumulating magma below. Again, it's I don't know how many times we've seen this, and it looks like it's going to continue here with this inflation coming up, rebounding there from the bottom, indicating recharging of the magma below. Let's see here. All right, well, we'll see what happens today in terms of earthquake activity. Let's check out space weather movement here real quick, see if we got anything to chat about. I don't think we're going to see any noteworthy flares here until a number of active regions come around the bend here. It looks like I'm barely just starting to see some of the magnetic structure here on the far side sunspot on the eastern limb. That is coming off of a let me show you guys here. That's good. Well, this is from last night or yesterday. Still got the same image here, the face. That's crazy. These two sunspots here are large in coverage, but a little uncertain onto the complexity and whether they're going to harbor any major flares. Again, we're just, with this being behind 1 day, that sunspot area is probably right about here. So later tonight, maybe even tomorrow, we'll be able to get a little bit better perspective of the magnetic structure here. This is the eastern limb. And then there's another one behind that. But this whole image here almost looks like a face. And we got two eyes here, a nose, well-defined nose. There's the breakage here in between the eye and a mouth. And what looks like cat ears. It almost looks like a cat. I could probably draw the cat feature right here. There's a small, narrow chin, some cheekbones there from the cat, two ears up top. Here's what looks like the forehead or but those are very short ears. You guys see it too? You guys see what I'm seeing? I know I'm not imagining this. I've seen it last night, and I think it even jumped into my dreams. Pretty crazy. I mean, you don't even really have to look for it. It's very obvious that there's some type of feature out there. But, you know, people can see a pineapple in the clouds, and I'm like, wait a minute, where? How? I don't see it. But this here is pretty obvious. Just looks like a cat. Potentially a cat. All right. Let's see what we got here. Nothing major in terms of the flare potential, which is very low. 5% for X flare, M flare at 30. Those are very generous readings. Should be much lower than that, but we'll see what happens around the time this other sunspot comes into view. Not a whole lot in terms of aurora activity here over the next few nights. And as far as any major close approach asteroids here, well, this one's somewhat close. 410,000 miles, 26-foot asteroid. Approximate size is a bus-size asteroid there. Not not that big. Somewhat close, but I'm not really going to jump into this and cover the orbital viewer until we get under 100,000, 50,000 miles or so. 4 million. Look at all these other ones. Goodness. Massive ones. 120-foot airplane-size asteroid there, but aside from that, looks like we're safe for now. Storm Prediction Center out here. Minimal, marginal risk for some severe weather. Nothing in terms of tornado. Looks like it's just going to be some wind and some hail threats out there now. A lot of big names are showing the GFS model here for a potential hurricane in Florida. Here's the latest GFS run, rapidly strengthening and heading into roughly about the same area. That's a Category 3. Yeah, that's Category 3 area, maybe 4 if it drops a little bit lower, hitting the Florida Panhandle area and then moving up north a little bit. And looks like maybe another hurricane potential behind that. But these models are starting to jump into agreement here. We're getting closer and closer and closer to the time frame of Thursday next week, this coming week here. And nothing has bounced off. Nothing has backed off here. They haven't shown it going this way or further to the east or not even developing. They're all staying fairly consistent with some type of strong tropical system here hitting the panhandle. So it's something serious now. Exact locations and strength will be forecasted here, I guess, as we get a little bit closer. Here's that system that they're kind of concerned about. Disturbance number 2. 80% chance of a cyclone formation here within the next 7 days, obviously. 40% within the next 48 hours. So things are favorable for a tropical system. And again, it looks like it wants to hit the Florida area. That's a GFS model I showed you guys. Let's check out the ECMWF model. We'll put this into motion here. We'll check out this area down here. It may not even go that far out. It doesn't, at least that model. That one shows a little bit more disorganized, but we know systems there in the Gulf of Mexico, they can rapidly intensify and turn into something big in a short amount of time period. That one's still showing a northward track there. Not as strong, but either way, I think, you know, we can all agree that there's some type of tropical system that Florida, the southern states here are going to have to deal with towards the end of this week. Definitely going to have to watch that pretty closely. That goes out here to about Friday. This here barely showing that. This one looks like it's behind a little bit. That's the ECMWF GFS model. Where'd it go? Where'd the hurricane go? It's hard to tell on these wind maps, estimated wind gusts. We'll have to look a little bit closer once we get to the end of the week towards Thursday and Friday and see what happens out here. But either way, folks, definitely want to be prepared. What else we got here? Today's Sunday. Not much more I can think of here. Just kind of a somewhat quiet day. Don't want to jinx it, though. Look at that. Still got more activity over here across the region. Bolivia, 4.9 right now, 158 kilometers, or 158 miles deep. Remember I said, this activity, what goes on over here across these fracture zones puts a lot of strain up here. This is a general plate motion here that puts this plate moving off to the east. And all that strain goes onto the Peru-Chile Trench here, and that's very obvious right now. That's another deeper quake, so we could be talking about something larger upstream. We'll have to watch here. That's a major area that can see some super big earthquakes, mega quakes out there. All right, have a good day, folks. Keep an eye on these areas out here. Of course, you never want to be caught off guard. Just anything can happen at any time here, but we'll just watch and see. Have a good one. See you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening for the Sunday night update.